Don't lament so much about how your career will turn out. You don't have a career. You have a life. Cheryl Strayed. We often confuse career, that dry, rigid, social construct, with life, the vivid, ever-changing current that runs deep within every human being. When we become too obsessed with who we'll become 10 years from now, we unwittingly turn the present into a meaningless waypoint where every experience is weighed and measured solely by whether it benefits the career or not. That is a fundamental misperception. We crown the future on a pedestal and kneel before it, instead of diving fully into the present moment. You are not truly living. You are merely preparing to live. Yet life, in its ironic twist, is not a dress rehearsal. This is the real stage, where every moment is authentic, with no chance to replay it. You are like a mountain climber, lost in thick fog. If you keep staring at the illusory peak ahead, you will stumble over the jagged rocks right beneath your feet. But if you focus on each steady step, each deep breath, each sensation in your body, the journey itself will gradually reveal the path forward. Career, if it exists at all, is simply the natural outcome of a life lived with depth and full awareness. It is not about denying the future, but giving it its rightful place. You do not own a career like some object. You are living a life, and from the way you live, from your choices, from how you face both joy and pain, your path will carve itself out. When you stop forcing yourself into a certain mold, you begin to become your true self, and that very authenticity becomes the strongest foundation for every future achievement. Work harder on yourself than on everyone else, and you will achieve extraordinary success. Dani Johnson. Are you ready to push far beyond the familiar limits of who you are? When you invest more effort than the majority, you are not simply increasing the volume of work. You are reprogramming your mind, turning what once felt overwhelming into something normal. Most people run along a flat path at a pace just comfortable enough not to tire. You, however, choose the steep climb. At first, every step feels dragged back by gravity, your lungs burn, and your will is relentlessly tested. Yet, it is precisely that slope that forges your mental strength, something a flat road could never provide. Over time, what once exhausted you becomes familiar, and you rise to a level the majority has never touched. If efforting more than others comes only from fear of falling behind or the need to prove your worth, it will quickly lead to burnout. Sustainable effort does not spring from comparison pressure, but from a deep commitment to your own growth. When you do more, not to beat anyone, but to expand yourself, the energy is not drained. It becomes a self-nourishing spiral. Extraordinary success is not the reward for blindly outworking everyone else, but the result of taking one more step when everyone else has already stopped. It is quiet perseverance, but over time, that persistence creates a gap large enough to transform you into a version of yourself your past self wouldn't have dared to imagine. Challenges make life interesting, and overcoming them makes life meaningful. Joshua J. Marine. We both fear challenges and crave them because they make us feel truly alive. If life were a perfectly still lake with no ripples, it might be peaceful, but it would also be stagnant. It is the challenges, like strong winds sweeping across the water, that stir up waves, bring movement, depth, and a clearer reflection of who we really are. Challenges force us to expand. When we face difficulty, old belief systems shake, and limits we thought were fixed begin to crack. We are compelled to adapt, to think differently, to become stronger. And in that process, we do not simply solve a problem, we redefine who we are. Overcoming a challenge is not just finishing a task. It is becoming the version of yourself capable of conquering even greater ones. Life is like a mountain climbing game. If the mountain is too low, boredom sets in because there is nothing left to conquer. But when the height increases and every step demands focus and effort, you start to feel your heart pounding, your breath quickening, and the vivid presence of your own being. Challenges create psychological elevation, where every victory, no matter how small, fills you with vitality and profound meaning. Let us change how we see them. When we view challenges as enemies, we live in a defensive state, stressed and avoidant. But when we see them as an essential part of the growth journey, they become catalysts. Pain is no longer a sign of failure, but a signal of growth. Life becomes interesting not because it is easy, but because the rough patches keep you alert. And life becomes meaningful not because you avoid hardship, but because you walk straight through it, carrying scars, yes, but also carrying an inner strength that only those who dare to face it can ever possess. A creative person is driven by the desire for achievement, not by the desire to defeat others. Ayn Rand, a truly creative person does not act like a warrior in an arena whose only goal is to defeat opponents. They are more like an explorer, pulled forward by uncharted territories within their own mind. The desire for achievement here is not a medal pinned to the chest, but the deep satisfaction of completing something profound, right, and meaningful to oneself. When motivation comes from defeating others, the mind becomes locked in an external frame of reference. Every idea is compared, every effort measured by an invisible ranking. This creates defensive creativity, where you dare not go too far for fear of being wrong, dare not be different for fear of losing. But when guided by the pure desire for achievement, you step into a far wider space where mistakes become data and difference becomes identity. Two flames. One burns with competition. It flares up fast and fierce, but dies quickly once there is no opponent left to compare against. The other burns with the passion for perfection, steady, enduring, and self-sustaining. The creative person of the second kind needs no audience to keep going. The act of creation itself is the reward. They do not ask, "Who is ahead of me?" but "How much further can I go?" Creativity is a dialogue with yourself, not a battle with others. When you shift the focus from competition to growth, you free the energy trapped in comparison and turn it into fuel for exploration. And paradoxically, the people who never try to defeat anyone often create achievements others cannot catch, not because they are faster, but because they travel in an entirely different direction, the direction of inner truth and the desire to reach the best version of themselves. To succeed in your mission, you must devote yourself wholeheartedly to the goal. APJ Abdul Kalam. It is the complete merging of the person and the goal. When you devote yourself wholeheartedly, you no longer stand outside, forcing yourself to work. You step inside the journey where the goal stops being something to reach and becomes part of the very structure of your thoughts and feelings. Most people treat goals like obligations they act when motivated and stop when tired. That is a fragile bond, like rowing a boat, but dropping the oars every time a wave hits. True devotion, however, is consistent. You keep moving even when uninterested, continue when no one is watching, and hold the rhythm even when results have not yet appeared. This is not blind sacrifice, but conscious discipline, knowing exactly why you began and refusing to let momentary doubts pull you off course. A goal is like fire. Add wood only now and then, and the flames flare up, then die down. But if you feed it steadily, even with small twigs every day, it becomes a stable source of warmth and light that can sustain the entire journey. Devotion is not found in explosive moments. It lives in the quiet ability to keep that flame burning over time. When you commit with your whole heart, internal conflict fades. There is no more endless debate between "I should" and "I want to rest." No more bargaining with yourself. The energy once wasted on hesitation is freed and transformed into action. And this clarity creates momentum far stronger than any passing inspiration. Success in your mission is not a reward for the person who does the most in a single day, but for the one who sustains wholehearted dedication through hundreds of unnoticed days. When you truly devote yourself, you do not just move closer to the goal. You gradually become the kind of person who can achieve it, and that is the deepest transformation of all. Self-esteem comes from achieving something important when it is difficult. Clayton M. Christensen. Self-esteem is not built on compliments. It is forged in the friction of difficulty. Achieving something easy barely registers in the mind as a real victory, like picking up a stone by the roadside. It may be useful, but it carries no real weight. When you conquer something important under harsh conditions, you do not simply get the result, you become a different version of yourself. It is the quiet accumulation of inner proof. Every time you overcome a hard challenge, you send a clear signal to your belief system. I can. These signals cannot be faked. You can tell yourself you are capable, but without having faced and conquered difficulty, that belief remains fragile. True self-esteem is like a building constructed brick by brick from lived experience. The more challenges you conquer, the stronger the foundation. Two swords. One is forged quickly, shiny, but never tested by fire. The other is heated red hot, hammered again and again, bent, then reshaped. The second carries the marks of that harsh process, yet those very marks give it lasting strength and resilience. People are the same. Difficulties do not diminish your value, they temper it. Something important must truly matter to you. If you chase goals borrowed from society, even the hardest victory will leave an emptiness. But when you choose something with real inner value, every step forward, every fall, every time you rise again carries weight. And when you finally reach it, the feeling is deeper than pride. It is a profound peace. You now know who you are and what you are truly capable of. Self-esteem is not something you seek outside yourself. It is something you build from within by daring to step into what is difficult, staying with it, and walking all the way through to the other side. Simplicity is captured in 2 steps. Identify the essential, eliminate the rest. Leo Babauta. Between what is truly important and what merely distracts. The habit of accumulation, adding tasks, goals, options, as though more is always better. Yet the paradox is this: the more you add, the more scattered you become. The more scattered you are, the more power you lose. Simplicity is not scarcity, it is conscious refinement. The first step, identifying the essential, demands almost brutal honesty with yourself. You must look straight at the question: what truly creates value? Not what is easy, not what others expect, but what, if accomplished, would truly shift the landscape. This is the process of peeling away layers of secondary goals until you reach the core, where the greatest meaning and impact reside. But the second step is where everything becomes truly difficult. eliminating the rest. People fear loss more than they fear not achieving. You know you should let some things go, yet you hesitate. What if I need it later? The result is that you keep too much, and that very excess suffocates what matters most. Elimination is not negative. It is liberation, returning space, time, and energy to what truly deserves them. You are walking through a dense forest with a backpack weighed down by countless items. Each one seemed necessary when you packed it, yet the further you go, the heavier and slower you become. At some point, you realize it is not that you are growing weaker, you are simply carrying too much. When you begin to shed, each step grows lighter, clearer, and the path ahead starts to reveal itself. Simplicity is not randomly doing less. It is doing the right thing with all of your energy. When you know what is essential and have the courage to remove everything else, you do not merely optimize your actions, you unleash your full potential. And in that state, efficiency no longer comes from trying harder. It comes from no longer being pulled off course by what was never necessary. The world changes because of your example, not because of your opinion. Paulo Coelho. We often believe that voicing opinions, arguing, or convincing others is how change is made. Yet, people are not led by what they hear. They are led by what they see, lived consistently. Opinions may spark thought, but only a living example ignites action. Talk about discipline while living impulsively, and your words cancel themselves out. But quietly maintain discipline day after day, and you become living proof, a form of evidence the human mind finds almost impossible to deny. People learn through imitation. We watch, absorb, and unconsciously adjust our behavior to what has been proven possible. A powerful example needs no persuasion. It simply makes others ask themselves, if they can do it, why can't I? Opinions are like arrows, fast, sharp, but easily deflected or lost if they miss the mark. An example is like a lighthouse, motionless, silent, yet constantly sending out a clear signal. Ships do not need to be forced. They naturally steer toward the light. This does not mean words are worthless. They only carry real weight when anchored in action. Otherwise, they become mere noise, and the world already has far too much of that. But when you live what you believe, every small action becomes contagious. You do not need to try to change the world. You only need to change how you show up in it. And here is the paradox. The people who create the greatest influence are rarely obsessed with influencing others. They simply focus on living rightly, fully, and authentically. Yet, that very consistency creates an invisible pull that draws people closer and inspires them to adjust themselves. The world does not change because you say what is right. It changes because you prove it is possible. Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. Abraham Lincoln. True efficiency does not come from rushing straight into action, but from the quality of preparation beforehand. People often fall into the illusion of busyness the more they do, the closer they feel to the outcome. Yet, if the tool is dull, the method flawed, and the mindset unsharpened, every effort is simply wasted energy disguised as hard work. Those 4 hours sharpening the axe are a deliberate slowing down. It is the time for learning, observing, thinking, and adjusting the phase of restructuring how you approach the problem before you ever touch it. The impatient see this as procrastination. The wise recognize it as the very point that creates the difference. Because when the blade is truly sharp, each chop is not only more powerful, but more precise and far less wasteful. Two people stand before the same tree. One swings wildly from the start, sweat flying, axe ringing out in rapid blows, but the cuts are shallow and scattered. The other sits patiently sharpening the axe, while the first has already made dozens of frantic chops. Yet, when the second finally stands and swings, a few clean strokes create deep, continuous cuts, and it is he who fells the tree faster. This is not delaying action, it is optimizing action. Preparation is not the opposite of work, it is an essential part of work, the part most people skip because it does not deliver immediate, visible results. Yet it is precisely that invisible part that determines the quality of everything that follows. In a world obsessed with speed, daring to slow down and sharpen the axe is an act of wisdom. You are not working harder, you are working smarter. And when you finally step into action with tools fully prepared, you do not need to out-effort anyone. You simply need to cut the right way. The thing we fear doing the most is usually the thing we need to do the most. Ferriss. We do not fear the action itself. We fear what that action might reveal about us. The fear lies not in the task, but in the possibility of failure, of being judged, or worse, of discovering we are not as capable as we thought. So, the mind cleverly constructs a long list of reasonable excuses to delay and avoid, all wrapped in the phrase, "It's not the right time yet." Yet, it is exactly at that point of avoidance that the most important signal appears. It marks the boundary between who you are now and who you could become. Easy tasks require no change, so they create no real leap. The things that make you hesitate are the very ones that demand you expand learning new skills, facing weaknesses, and stepping out of the comfort zone you have grown so used to hiding inside. Fear is like a closed door. On the surface, it looks heavy and threatening, making you want to turn away. But if you have the courage to push it open, you discover it is not a wall, but a passageway. What you fear most is not the end. It is the gate leading into a much larger space where you are forced to grow. When you do the thing you fear, you break the negative cycle of fear avoidance, feeling weaker, even more fear. Instead, each time you face it, even if the result is not perfect, you send a powerful signal inward. I can endure and keep moving. That signal gradually builds real confidence, not from empty affirmations, but from experiences that have been tested and proven. Do not rush blindly at every fear, but recognize that fear is often a compass turned upside down. It points precisely to where you need to grow the most. When you learn to step toward what makes you hesitate the most, you do not simply complete a task, you expand the very boundaries of who you are. And on the other side of fear, you will usually find not failure, but a version of yourself you previously did not dare believe could exist.